All right, so we talked about 4570 yesterday. Today we're going to talk about its replacement in U.S. military service, or at least in U.S. Army service. And that will be the 3040 Krag, which was the first smokeless powder rifle cartridge adopted by the U.S. military. And it got us on to par, cartridge-wise, with some of the Spanish Mausers. The Krag rifle itself had its issues, but we're just going to talk about the cartridge. It was also called the 30 U.S., 30 Army. Personally, well, I'll go ahead and say this. I like the Krag Jorgensen action. I wouldn't want it in a combat rifle, but the only bolt action that I've messed with that's slicker is the Lee Enfield. So, yeah, there's some good stuff there. Now, what you end up having with the U.S. military is you still got the same caliber overcharge, 30 caliber bullet, 40 grains of now smokeless powder. The Army ended up settling on a 220 grain bullet over 40 grains of nitrocellulose powder. So you're looking at about 2,000 feet per second in the long rifle length, and 1950 or so out of the shorter barrel carbine. You're talking about 8 inches of barrel length. The 4570 was a solid cartridge, but compared to the Krag, the biggest issue was it was a black powder cartridge. So you've got some velocity problems. The ammunition's got to be big and heavy to get good lethal effect because you can't get so much velocity out of it. Your range is limited because your trajectory isn't exactly flat. So the Krag made sense at the time. Although I have a feeling a bunch of people that got issued the Krag wish the U.S. government would have bought the Mauser during the Spanish-American War because Krag was slow to reload. The Army played with the caliber, not really the caliber, but played with it a few times. And they went to a fairly high velocity bullet for a while, and I forget what the weight of it was. It was considerably lighter, but it ended up burning out rifling when they started loading it up to about 2,200 feet per second, and it'd burn out rifling, and locking lugs on the Krag would start to crack. So they downloaded it back down to 2,000 feet per second. That's not a fault of the cartridge. That's more a fault of the rifle itself. But 3040 Krag stayed in service. It was officially replaced in 1903 by the 30-03, which gave us the 30-06 Springfield. 3040 Krag, if you've never shot one, is a very pleasant, very mild recoiling cartridge. At least I've thought it was. I've had the privilege of shooting a couple Krags. The bolt action on them is really, really slick, and the recoil is quite light. The Army also, I mean, it makes sense. They're going to a new rifle cartridge. Some of their Model 1893 Gatling guns were also chambered in 3040 Krag. And with the Gatling, now you start to see the big difference between the smokeless and the black powder. Previously, with the Gatling, the crew couldn't see shit after they got their first mag down. With the Krag and smokeless powder, a little bit better visibility.